If I show empathy for someone who's expressing transphobia, and I'm not going to say a transphobe, it's someone expressing transphobia. Whether they believe it's transphobia or not, we generally know when it is, right? But oftentimes people are so quick to just crucify people that are expressing transphobia. When someone expresses a very transphobic viewpoint, I will listen to them. I will express curiosity. I'll ask them questions. I will, try my hardest to not judge them. Because when you're able to do that, you are able to express a much greater level of empathy that would previously be inaccessible to you. And if you want to be a more empathetic, kind, compassionate, curious person, then that is what I would encourage you to do. And start doing it soon. Welcome to the Trans Boss podcast, home of the Trans Boss movement, the place where empowered trans people come to discover what it takes to become the best versions of themselves. I am your host, Jasmine Vine, a Transfem trans empowerment specialist and the CEO of Javine, and I'm here to guide you on this empowering journey. In each episode, we'll dive deep into topics that matter to us trans people, like navigating through societal challenges, as well as building resilience and embracing an empowering mindset. We'll explore it all. We'll also bring on some incredible guests who are making a positive impact in the trans community. The Trans Boss podcast is your go-to resource for empowerment, hope, wisdom, and epic stories from empowered trans bosses across the globe. It's time to kick life's ass and create an empowered, authentic you. So without further ado, let's get into the episode. Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Trans Boss podcast. In this episode, there's been something on my mind and I'd really like to call it out. I don't always feel safe in the trans community. And it's, obviously from outside of the community and the prejudice and, all of that, but also from within the community. And I want to talk about something that I've been seeing a lot and it feels really icky to me. So let's chat about it. We are a community that has been very heavily labelled. All the labels under the sun, mentally ill, freaking this, that, and the other, heavily labelled, right? And we seem to be so against that and so against labelling people, yet I see labelling happen within the community quite a lot. More than I see in other places, honestly. And here's the thing. There is a lot of defensiveness in the community, and I get it. When you've experienced or you're experiencing very real threats to your safety and, your safety in the world, defensiveness is bound to happen. However, it does sadden me a bit because, I see people consistently portray there being sides, and if you step out of line in any way, then you're ostracized. That's what makes me kind of sad, because it's a feeling that a lot of trans people are acutely aware of, feeling ostracized. At least for me, all the bullying in my childhood and in school and all of that, I felt very, very ostracized. And for me, there is no way I would want to do that to other people, but I see that happening a lot. It's very common that when someone has experienced a certain trauma, a certain thing, there's one of two ways it usually goes. One way is that person will go, I never want another person to experience this ever again. And they go the polar opposite way to what they, were, or what they've witnessed or what they've experienced. The other way people go is they go, you know what? I had to put up with this, so you have to too. I'm just going to dive into that and perpetuate this cycle. And I'm not saying that that's what's happening, but I'm not saying it's not happening either. I'm sure that is, in certain cases happening, where if I have to experience this hurt and this hatred and all of this, then I'm going to lash out and show it to other people. That's not overly healthy. I just want to point that out. And, I'm all about kindness. I'm all about seeking first to understand, then to be understood. And sometimes it feels like doing that in a public forum isn't safe. Like, it feels unsafe for me. And, an example of this, if I show empathy for someone who's expressing transphobia, and I'm not going to say a transphobe, it's someone expressing transphobia. Whether they believe it's transphobia or not, we generally know when it is, right? But oftentimes people are so quick to just crucify people that are expressing transphobia and, oh, you're an idiot, you don't understand this, you're stupid, read a book, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, whoa, okay, that's a lot. And oftentimes, and I don't always do this. Look, I'm not gonna say that I'm this perfect human that never falls into the drama of those things, because I do. I'm a human, and sometimes I get triggered, and sometimes I do express that in a not so productive way. That happens to me, of course it freaking does. However, I always like to try to check myself with that. And I will try to notice when I'm doing that and when I'm falling into that cycle, and I'll pull myself out of it. And I'm very appreciative of other people who pull me out of it as well, who go, Jasmine, is that true though? Is that really fair? What could this person actually be feeling? Where could that possibly come from? What, expanding my viewpoint and helping me understand different sides of things. And that happens often for me. With chasers, like people that fetishize trans people, oh my goodness, like someone hold me back. Like I need to actually have someone help me out of that, because immediately it triggers me. It puts me into a state of dysregulation. I think of previous dating experiences, and I'll go into that in a future episode, but that's an example of where I kind of lose that empathy. And I see people lose empathy with transphobic rhetoric quite a lot, and they're not willing to look at other perspectives of it. They're not willing to look deeper into, why might this person be thinking this, or where could that possibly have come from? And when I do that in a public forum, oh my goodness, I get quite a bit of hate comments, not from like other people expressing transphobia. I get the hate comments from trans people saying that I'm siding with the enemy, that I'm, I'm being a pick-me by expressing empathy to that person. And absolutely freaking not. Almost like there's this expectation on me that I need to react with hatred towards that. I need to call them out and say, oh, you're a horrible person. How dare you think that? How dare you say that? Here's some statistics and here's a blah, blah, blah. That I need to fight in that sort of way and hit the ball back at them, when I don't actually believe that that's the right way to go about it. And if you do, like, it's whatever, there's a place for everything. But I personally, for myself, that feels very unaligned. I like to, when someone expresses a very transphobic viewpoint, I will listen to them. I will express curiosity. I'll ask them questions. I will, try my hardest to not judge them. Hello, lovely. If you like what you're hearing so far, and I hope you do, then you are going to love the free trainings that I have. So these trainings have helped hundreds of my own clients and my followers get into a place of empowerment, loving their authentic selves with more hope, comfort, confidence, and safety. And that is really what we're all about here. So if you're listening to this podcast, there's something for you, trans or not, whether you're interested in trauma healing or, learning to live a more empowered life, in control life, or if you're just sick of your voice getting you misgendered, then these trainings break down my core methodologies to help you with all of that and more. And it's the methodologies that I use with all of my clients. So you can register for that via the link in the description box below, and I will see you there. Mwah. Now let's get back into the episode. Because I don't know where that's coming from. I don't know what their upbringing is. I don't know what their experiences are. I don't know what they care about. I don't know what propaganda they've been exposed to. I know none of these things. So to judge them, to me, is to solidify their viewpoint and say, there, you see, I was right in feeling that way because look at this trans person being horrible to me. Which is unfortunate that will happen when we express that that very real anger that is sometimes justified anger. I'm not going to say it's not. It will sometimes push them to hold on to their viewpoint even stronger, which is not something that I think any of us want. We don't want people to hold on to their, sometimes misguided viewpoints really strongly. We don't want that. And I don't want that either. And what I've come to learn is that when you express curiosity, when you ask questions, when you don't just jump down someone's throat and they feel listened to, they feel a lot more likely, they feel a lot more desire to listen to you. Because if you've heard them out, there's the natural law of reciprocity, right? If you have heard them out, they will feel a desire to hear you out. Not all the time, that doesn't always happen, but the people who are genuinely, not just trolling, not just trying to be hurtful, they will actually go, oh, wow, okay, this person's actually really listened to me. And then they'll ask, well, where does that come from for you? Because you've actually demonstrated that to them. You've demonstrated how to do that, how to show curiosity, how to show empathy. And oftentimes people will see that and they'll reflect it back if they feel safe to do so. If you're reacting with defensiveness and anger and all of that, they don't feel safe to do so. They're not going to freaking do it. They're just going to go, oh, I was right in having that belief. Look how horrible this trans person is. Oh. It just is what it is, really. But to express that curiosity, to ask those questions, it's not always easy. Absolutely not. And do I do it 100% of the time? Absolutely not. Like I said, it depends. If I am triggered in something, oh my goodness, I find it really difficult to do that. But I also need to recognize that and work with what I'm feeling and respond in a place of emotional regulation. So when that happens, when I feel dysregulated, when I am triggered by something that someone has said, I will take that moment to go, hold on a second. If I'm in that space, I'm like, hold on. And I'm clapping back. I'll go, okay, wait a second. I'm feeling dysregulated right now. I'm not providing a productive response here. I have a couple of options. I could not respond at all. I could choose to just delete, block, and get on with my day. And I do that if I don't have the emotional capacity or the mental capacity to engage in a conversation with someone. That is what I'll do. Or if someone is clearly just being a troll and they're basically not listening at all, I'll likely just block, delete, whatever. But you got to test the waters with that sometimes. The other option is I will step back for a minute and I'll let myself calm down. I'll let myself come back to a state of emotional regulation. I'll calm down and then I will respond, but I'll think critically about it. I'll go, where could this possibly have come from? What might be important to this person? What is beneath the surface that I'm not seeing? And that will help me respond to what the person is actually feeling and what the person is actually saying versus what their communication is putting forward. Because those two are completely different things. What someone says versus what it actually means can be an entirely different thing. And that's not always easy to do. That's very difficult to do. But this whole being accused of siding with the enemy, when I do that, I really don't appreciate it. That expectation of anger, I'm not going to do that. It's not who I am. It's not part of my personality. It's not what I want to put forward in the world. I'm all about inspiring hope and empowering kindness with everything I do. And that does not do that. It might make some other trans person feel happy or validated and yeah, this person's standing up for, that thing. But you can stand up for yourself in different ways that don't perpetuate a cycle of emotional, mental, or physical violence. Just putting that out there. And that is a hard thing to lean into. And if you'll notice, a lot of content online, popular sort of trans content, often has this very mean-spirited thing behind it. And I've actually felt the pull to that sometimes, and I have leaned into it at times where I felt like, oh my goodness, if my social media would take off a lot more if I just made videos calling out people being transphobic, calling them assholes and ripping them a new one, people would be like, yeah, Jasmine, you go, wow, repost, like, oh my God, you tell them, babe. But what good does that do? What good does that do in the world? I don't believe it does. And I'm not going to do that just because I think that that's going to be popular online. We're leaving the part of Jasmine that wants to be liked and wants to conform and do things for other people instead of actually just acting with authenticity and doing things myself. We're leaving her in the past. No, we don't need her. And I don't believe that that's the way to create meaningful change. I believe in showing that curiosity and kindness wherever possible. And, with respect to your energy and boundary levels, you need to understand if you're in a place where you don't have the capacity to engage in that, don't do it. Listen to yourself. Don't engage in that if you don't have the capacity to. That's the first thing. First and foremost, respect your capacity at the time. Now, I am not sorry if expressing kindness to people who are expressing transphobia is me siding with the enemy. I'm not sorry if you view it that way, because we are all humans. We are all deserving of kindness and of respect, and I'm not going to play into that. And I'm not sorry if that's not polarizing enough for you. I am not sorry that I won't label people on face value and attack them for not sharing my views. The witch hunt behavior is not okay. And I'm not sorry for not participating in that. I'm not going to. If you're listening to this, hopefully that aligns with you and you're like, yeah, that's something I want to lean into, because I do believe that is more of what we need in the world. And you might believe that, or you might believe something else. Either way, that's fine. I'm not going to censor myself any longer. I'm not going to walk on eggshells through the fear of offending or the fear of it's cancel culture, the witch hunt, it's cancel culture within the community. I'm going to ignore that. And it's difficult to do because humans innately have a need for connection with communities. So I have fallen into this so many times in the past because it genuinely feels scary. It feels unsafe, because if I am ostracized and I am kicked out of the community, blah, 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 that feels so unsafe, because in the past, being kicked out of the community was a death sentence. Not having other people around you was actually a death sentence. And we still carry some of those fears today. And that's part of the reason why being trans is so freaking difficult at times, is because it really plays on that. Because we see the majority of people and there's this perception of being ostracized and pushed out. And that genuinely creates a fear response in people. And it has for me. It absolutely has for me. When I see people showing kindness and being blasted for it, I'm like, whoa, okay, maybe I shouldn't do that so that I'm accepted by these people and I'm part of a community so that I'm safe. But bugger that. Because you know what's more important to me? Actually acting with authenticity. And I will build my own community around that, because at the end of the day, I don't want people in my community that are spreading hatred, that are being horrible to people, that aren't willing to think critically or to ask questions or to show curiosity or to dig deeper into why they might feel or think or act a certain way, because that is just acting with unconscious programming. If you're just acting with whatever your unconscious mind is coming up with based on your own past experiences, your own traumas, your own, stuff, and you're not willing to look into that and to dissect that and to look at things from different viewpoints, that's a massive one for me. Oh my goodness. People that aren't willing to look at things from a different viewpoint, I don't want them in my community. So why am I so eager for them to accept me?
Yeah, that's pretty true. That's true, and yeah, that's true.
And we know why. We know where that comes from. We know, the evolution of humans and why that feels so unsafe. But I'd really encourage you to think about that. Who are you authentically? What do you actually believe? What do you actually think? What do you actually feel about certain things? And what do other people feel and think and believe about certain things? Look at those things. And if you can put yourself in someone else's shoes and actually understand where they are coming from, even if it triggers the heck out of you, even if it makes you think, oh my gosh, this is such a stupid view. Oh my, how could you think that? Challenge yourself to go that extra step to see how could they possibly actually believe and feel that in their worldview, and why might that be important to them? Because when you're able to do that, you are able to express a much greater level of empathy that would previously be inaccessible to you. And if you want to be a more empathetic, kind, compassionate, curious person, then that is what I would encourage you to do. And start doing it soon. That is what I wanted to share today. I'm making a commitment to do that even more moving forward, to not care so much about what other people think and trying to make everyone else happy and shrinking myself and shifting my views and this people pleaser nonsense. We're leaving that in the past. Because the reality is you can never make anyone happy. Like, not everyone, I mean. You can't make everyone happy. That's just a reality of the world. Unless you have the personality of a dry sponge and you never express what's on your mind and you never truly love yourself or be yourself, people are going to disagree with you. Not everyone is going to like you, and that's okay. That is okay. It is more important to be yourself and to have a understanding of who you are and what you stand for and what's important to you, because what's important to you might not be what's important to freaking Bob or Jennifer or Stefan. And that is okay. And sometimes what is important to us, we might have the same thing that's important to us as what's important to someone else, but we express it in entirely different ways. We have different coping styles. Someone might overcompensate in how they express something. Someone might surrender in how they express something. There's different styles of those things. And when you can understand that and you can bring a level of empathy, the world will be a much better place. And that is what the Trans Boss movement is all about. Helping create a domino effect, creating a better world where that compassion, that kindness, that empathy is contagious. That's what I talk about this all the time, right? And this is one facet where I'm seeing a lot of opportunity for improvement. So if that feels aligned with you, if that's something that you're like, yeah, I want to do more of that in my life, then start thinking about that. Start thinking about how can I show more empathy and more compassion in my life, and challenge yourself to do that, even if something triggers you, even if something doesn't feel like nice to you, if you have the emotional, mental and mental capacity and space to do so. Respecting yourself and your capacity first and foremost. So with that, hopefully that's given you a couple of things to think about. I know it's stuff that I've really thought about a lot over my years, and I hope this helps you to become a more compassionate and kind person and to show you more empathy in the world, because we all could use a little bit more empathy and compassion in the world. So that is all for me for this one. Thank you for watching, and bye-bye. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Trans Boss podcast. If you support the Trans Boss movement, it would help immensely if you could leave a review on your favorite podcasting app, follow us, and share your biggest takeaway from this episode on social media. Don't forget to tag me at jasmine.vinee on Instagram because I would love to see it. Now get out there, do the things, and take the next step into that empowered life you deserve. See you next time.